he's the pick for me. I can't trade away from a player this good. And this is what I've been talking about throughout the whole offseason, Zach.
People will argue that it's not a need right now. I love the pick.
I think that's the pick. I think we'll turn the card in, Zach.
Let's do it.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Foots. Listen, I've been watching this dude's channel for a while. We hooked up. I actually reached out to him in the comments just because I'm like, yo, Zach does great work. He's locked in the draft scene. He's locked in the YouTube Cowboys community. Zach, DoubleMove, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, man. This will obviously be posted on both of our channels, but we wanted to do a 7-round mocker, Zach, because everybody around, I think, YouTube Cowboys draft community has been doing 2-3 rounds, right? We know how important this draft is for the Cowboys. Yeah. I think it'll be cool to get a Cowboys a full scope of a team building exercise and get him a full 7-round mock.
Well, that sounds good to me. There's quite a few guys, especially 3rd, 4th, 5th round, that I really like a lot. That could really help this team. Maybe names that people aren't aware of quite yet, but I'm excited. Let's do it.
Let's do it. And Zach, you know, we talked about it pre-show. What do we think about trades here before we actually jump into the mock? Are we trying to go back? Are we trying to move away from players? Or are we standing in the pick and BPA? What are we doing?
My impression is it would be nice to trade back. I think a lot of people think like that, especially because the Cowboys are going to be without a pick for 85 picks, I believe. Yeah, 85, 90 picks, nothing in the 4th round. So I think it'd be nice to be able to move back a little bit, still get a quality player in the 1st round. I think there's enough prospects that you could do that and pick up a 4th rounder in the process. So
yeah, let's run it, Zach. So
all right,
you got it, bro. And as we expected, Caleb Williams, it looks like he's number 1 off the board. I don't think that will be a surprise, Zach.
No, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it seems like a consensus number 1 at this point.
And then,
okay.
And it's sure as shit, they go Drake May.
A couple people off the board right before the Cowboys pick. Jackson Powers-Johnson goes to the Steelers at 20. Johnny Newton to the Dolphins at 21. Latu off the board to the Eagles at 22. And Graham Barton, the tackle from Duke, that'll most likely be on the interior, is gone at pick 23.
Yeah, and see, the Dolphins losing Wilkins, right? Losing Christian Wilkins. This is how free agency does affect the draft. I think that Graham Barton, if Minnesota picks at 23, that's interesting because I don't know if the simulator accounted for that. But in this exercise, we'll say that they do. I've told people, Seattle, Steelers, Jackson Powers-Johnson, don't lock into these guys because that's a very realistic situation. But lo and behold, look who we have on the board, Zach. In this situation, I think that the Cowboys would have to stand in the pick. Now, to me, how do we rate these tackles versus these receivers, Zach?
So I think when you look at it just with the tackles for right now, when you look at it with Mims and Latham sitting there, do we think Latham can play left tackle? Because both of these guys have been right tackles, right?
Yep.
Mims' entire career is eight total games or 8 starts, but I think is one of them a better left tackle than the other, not knowing what they look like at left tackle.
Yep.
So with Mims, super athletic guy, big freak of nature. I like Mims a lot, but that's my thoughts on the tackles. And then the main receiver that really sticks out right here is Brian Thomas Jr. That's how I see it. How do you see these positions and the value?
So I'm glad that you said that because this is the questions that we have to ask ourselves. I think that this tackle in this O-line class stretches more than people think. Mike McCarthy was at Notre Dame's Pro Day today. Blake Fisher is a guy who I've watched a lot, watching so much of Joe Alt. You're like, whoa, who's this other tackle on the right side? Here's the deal. Is J.C. Latham right now a better player than Tyler Smith? To me, the answer is no.
No.
Is Amarius Mims, who had a great combine workout, but little nugget, he wasn't able to finish his combine workout because of the injury. Is he a better player than Tyler Smith right now? The answer for me is no. To me, if you're trying to upgrade this team and you want to make sure that you can continuously get better. We saw in the playoff game, I do love Brandon Cook, but he's a small target. He's a small body. You did just lose Michael Gallup. Mm-hmm. If I have Brian Thomas Jr. on the board, he's the pick for me. I can't trade away from a player this good. And this is what I've been talking about throughout the whole offseason, Zach. These receivers, to me, stack higher than some of these tackles and these guards. Yes, I do like these guys, but I'm not going to force a pick if I have a receiver who's better and I can get better value later in the draft at O-line. And especially if it's going to be a swing guy. And these are, right now, Latham is a right tackle only for me. Yep. I have no film of him playing left tackle. Yep. The pick is going to be Brian Thomas Jr.
Yep. Quick nugget, too, about the wide receiver room for the Cowboys. People will argue that it's not a need right now because you do have Cooks, you have CD, who's going to get a big contract coming up, and you have Tolbert. You have these guys, but Cooks is gone after next year, or after this year, very likely. Tolbert hasn't really shown us that he can be a wide receiver 3 in the NFL. I do have hopes that he could, take a step forward, but is he better than Brian Thomas Jr.? Absolutely not. Kavontae Turpin hasn't really shown a ton in the passing game, a little bit of potential, but his contract's over after this year.
Yeah.
This year as well. So it is a sneaky need. And if Brian Thomas Jr. is sitting there, I love the pick.
I think that's the pick. I think we'll turn the card in, Zach.
Let's do it.
I think another thing to think about, just Brian Thomas Jr.'s usage. So when you have a player like Malik Neighbors, I think when watching film, there were times that Brian Thomas Jr. was in. You got to remember, I was on him high and very early. I was high on him very early in the process. When you talk about a guy who can get in windows, attack the deep thirds, attack the deep middle of the field right now, 4.35 guy, I think it's a no-brainer. There will be people who will argue how is he after the catch? Listen, we need a guy who can stretch the field, who's a big target for Dak. I like the pick.
Yep. It definitely adds a different dynamic that this offense doesn't have right now, especially with the size and the speed in insane combination for sure.
Yes.
All right, so some names off the board right before: edge Braylon Trice from Washington, Edgerrin Cooper, linebacker from Texas A&M, and Chris Jenkins, interior guy from Michigan. So some names still on the board: Jatavion Sanders, Texas tight end from Texas, Jonah Ellis, edge from Utah, Rook Okorohoro, defensive interior from Clemson, Jonathan Brooks, and Junior Colson. And Jalen Wright.
Yeah, those are some good names, Zach. I'm really high on Christian Haynes. I don't know if you've watched him. I don't know if that would be the pick. I don't know if we want to go interior. I know you got this pick. I don't know if I don't want to sway you too much, but some of these names, what position we thinking here, Zach?
So I think because we go wide receiver and like you said, the guard tackle class does stretch, pretty good, I would say, into the second round. Maybe not as much as the wide receivers, but it still stretches. I have watched Christian Haynes and his Senior Bowl stuff.
Yes.
He looked like a powerful guy. He looked good in pass protection. He looked like somebody that could get to the next level, get his hands on guys. This is a little tangent, but Zach Frazier had a tendency to miss in space. So when he would get to guy, he could get there, but he would miss when he did. Christian Haynes, it looked like, I know he's a guard, but he did a better job of hitting his target when he did get there. He didn't have linebackers dipping underneath his block or, sidestepping him. I like Christian Haynes a lot, and I think it is a need. He would be worthy of the pick at 56.
Wow, that's a great nugget, Zach. I definitely see a powerful player with Frazier, but I get what you're saying. Maybe overextended, not running his feet when he gets to the next level. And, these backers are quick. There's backers in the NFL that won't let you get your hands on them. They play through trash very well. I would be very comfortable with this pick. I think he's plug and play right now.
Yes.
You would probably kick TJ Bass back to a swing guy, which is fine. I mean, this is the NFL. Will McClay, I love you, but my job is to replace you. That's his saying. Is there anybody else on the board before we make that pick?
Two players, and they're both running backs. I really like Jalen Wright from Tennessee. Electric guy, big play waiting to happen, fast. He sticks his foot in the ground, he's gone. I mean, nobody's catching him. Didn't see one person catch him on film from behind. And then another guy, my running back 1 in this class, who is going to be available, or who is available right now, I believe, in Trey Benson. I know PFF's not as high. PFF's not as high on him, ranked 86th. That's my number 1 back.
He's my back. He's my number 1 back as well.
Yeah,
yes.
He's my guy. I know we took a wide receiver. I know we didn't address the O-line, but that is something to think about. But since we didn't, I think I would wait for a running back into the 3rd round, because there are a couple of guys, maybe we'll see them on here, that I also like. I don't have to get Trey Benson. We'll go with the guard, Christian Haynes from Connecticut. That sounds good to me.
Nice. And you know what? I feel great about that pick, Zach. To be honest, the rest of this month until April, the theme is plug play. I need guys who are game day ready. The minute you get off the bus, you do your rookie intro. They got the video, the whole 9. Okay, let's go play football.
Yep.
The development part was last year. Schoonmaker, Mozzie, kind of figuring things out. These guys, I need to know what you can do. And I think Brian Thomas Jr., and if you got those 2 and that's your stack, I think you feel good on day 2 having Haynes and Brian Thomas Jr. Now, for me with this 3rd pick, because these 3, I call this the big 3. Gotta hit on these 3 picks. Backer, linebacker. Let's go to the backer room and let's see what we got there. Because to me, this is where we need to make our money. And we got some good names that I'm looking at right now. And so I'll be honest with you, I'm a huge Maris fan. I stay away from his last name, but I'm going to try Maris Luafau. These names in this draft are tricky.
Yes, they are.
I'm not as high on Jeremiah Trotter as everybody else. I have size issues. Gives me a little bit of Nakobe Dean flashes. I see a will only. And I don't know if Mike Zimmer would be able to deploy him with having overshown year 2, who I'm hearing that he's making his way back. He looks like he's been in the weight room. With having Eric Kendricks, who the reason why he came to Dallas is because he's going to play Mike. I think a player like Maris, let's put a check by him. And now let's look in the running back room, Zach, because between those 2, I want to see what we have. Okay. You can ask 12 different people about running back rankings, Zach, and you'll get 12 different answers.
Yeah.
So while we do have Trey Benson as running back 1, there are people who believe in Jonathan Brooks, even with the injury, right? Mm-hmm. Even with the injury, they have Jonathan Brooks as running back 1. There are people who still believe in Braylon Allen, even with him not testing, as a top-tier running back. And if this was the case, the pick for me would have to be Trey Benson. I don't know just how realistic this is, but he may not be for everybody. I love Maris. The pick for me would be Trey Benson. We're drafting Trey Benson in the 3rd round.
I like that a lot. And I do like a lot of these other running backs that maybe you could get in, in the 4th, 5th, or 6th. But I just feel like Benson, that's your running back for the next 4 to 5 years. That's the guy. He could be your workhorse back. He's got big playability. He can make guys miss. I like Trey Benson a lot, and I like that pick.
Yeah, I think one of the things about Benson that was so underrated was his yards after contact. The percentile was really high. I think he does a good job setting blocks up. That Florida State scheme, a lot of pin pull, a lot of guards getting out in space. He really was very Emmitt Smith-esque with his patience. I'm not saying he's Emmitt Smith. Obviously, Emmitt Smith with the Florida. Yep. Trey Benson with the Florida State. He transferred into Florida State. He really sets his blocks up well. It would be between him and Blake Corum. I'm a huge Blake Corum fan. I have Benson stacked a little bit higher, but I would never bet against Blake Corum. Yep. Obviously, we're going through the 5th round, and this is what it'll be like on draft day.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to mention. This is the tough part about not trading back. If nobody wants to trade back with you, if you have somebody there like we did that you really want to take, that's the rough part. You are going through a crazy stretch. That's what happens when you don't trade back. A lot of names start flying off the board. All right, so we're here. Drake Nugent, Michigan center, is off the board. Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver from Rice, is off the board. Brothers with Christian McCaffrey. Trevor Keegan, another Michigan. Michigan has so many linemen in this draft. Oh my goodness.
Zach Zinter is a name that I love that Cowboys fans and people around the NFL haven't been as high. I don't know if it was the injury, but I love Zach Zenner, the guard. He has Michigan. I mean, excuse me. He went to Michigan. He has he has center flex. He plays center as a rookie. I mean, excuse me, as a freshman. And he could play center as well. I love Zach Zinter. Let's look at the tackle room, and then let's look at the D-line room. Okay, so Caden Wallace is a name. Doesn't have a lot of experience, but Caden Wallace is a tackle who obviously Olu Fashanu was the headliner there. But Wallace is a name that I watched him being in the Big Ten playing against Maryland. He had some good reps. I think he was only a starter for 1 year. He's a name. Let's look at the D-line room here because – the D-line class actually does stretch pretty deep, and I want to see if there's any D linemen that made it.
Do you want to look at edge or interior?
Let's go interior.
Jordan Jefferson is a name that I'm a little familiar with. We can click on their player profiles too as well.
Yeah, so with Jefferson, obviously I was his teammate is really the one who I was really high on in Mason Smith. I don't know. Did he already get drafted or?
Yes.
So Jordan Jefferson, LSU. Let's talk about him. I saw a guy who was more of a 3. And do we want to get a 3? And that's the question. Are we buying in? I feel like the Cowboys need bodies, Zach, big bodies. So
I do think the Cowboys need an interior defensive lineman. That room is thin, edges as well. I think on just get as far as bodies, you're lost quite a few guys.
Let's go Jordan Jefferson. I mean, there's times that he plays tall. Yep. He was on Bruce Feldman's freaks list. I do remember that. Let's go Jordan Jefferson. I like that pick a lot.
That works.
Just throwing bodies at the position.
Yeah.
And I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there a position that we want to double dick it? Oh man.
Yeah.
I already see the pick right here.
Yeah. Tanner Bortolini. Is that yours?
Well, so I like Hopper.
You like the linebacker.
God. Are we okay? Let's talk about it. Zach, are we okay with rolling out? Because remember, we didn't go linebacker in the 3rd round, Zach. So are we okay with rolling out Eric Kendricks, Overshown, and Damone Clark? How do we feel, Zach? Because that's the question that Cowboys fans are gonna say, okay, we didn't address this here, and it's man, Jason McCullough is staring at you. That's another good back that I like. Yep. Alabama's running back. But I would not be mad at Tanner Bortolini. The way he tested, I think you pretty much. But see, Hopper has some stuff.
Can you go wrong with a Wisconsin center?
No, you can't.
How many starting years the Cowboys have gotten out of a Wisconsin center?
Zach, he's the pick because if nothing else, I think that everybody's you see the videos with Hoffman on IG, and you hear him talk, but do we know? Do we know if Brock Hoffman's going to be able to hold his own for a year? Tanner Bortolini tested through the roof.
Yes.
At the combine. I mean, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. I just know he moved well.
Under
Former
a
wrestler.
5-second 40.
Was it?
Mm-hmm. 4.96, I believe.
What's his height weight profile?
Let's look. 6'4", 310. So a little lighter than Biotish. I believe Biotish was more like 315.
And I know that was some of our issue with Biotish. But it's crazy. I see a better player on film.
Creed Humphrey is less than that. Creed Humphrey's playing at 308.
And moves. Him and Kelsey move so well with the pull game and everything. Let's go Tanner Bortolini.
Quick thing about the linebacker room. You were asking if you're comfortable with rolling out Kendricks, Clark, and Overshown. Absolutely not. Because Overshown's injury, he's a rookie. That's it. You're going right back to a rookie. So it's almost like Jonathan Brooks. He's a rookie, and he's coming off of an ACL injury.
Yeah, bad one.
And not really, but do you feel like Hopper is competing with those guys for a job on the field? Like, is he getting reps this year? Who do you think has a better chance to start right now? Is it Bortolini over Hoffman, or is it Hopper over Overshown or Clark?
You'd have to go Tanner Bortolini. I think that Hopper will probably be a special teams guy only, whereas Bortolini, he would have a chance to start.
And it might not even be in 2024 for Bortolini. It could be a 2025 thing, Like I want to say Biotish did not start his first year with the Cowboys either.
No, he didn't.
So You know,
I think
maybe
they
the same
had
trajectory.
I forget who they had in there, but once he got in, he never gave a job back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Tanner Bortolini.
Was
I
it
like that's the
Looney?
pick. It might have been Looney, yeah, because Looney was a guard center,
Yeah.
had some flex, and he was like just good fun for the Cowboys, but he wasn't really. He didn't move the needle.
Yeah.
Tanner
I like
Bortolini
that
feels
pick.
good.
Yep. And like we were talking about with the athleticism, dude tested out the roof. So
yeah. Whew. And so this is our last pick of the draft. Isaiah Davis. You could talk me into that. Doubling down at running back. I'll be honest.
So question, while you're just talking about that, what do you think about the Cowboys running back room? What is your opinion right now on Dowdle, Vaughn,
Trey Benson,
Davis? Well, and Ben. Well, yeah, and Benson.
We are our new toy, Trey Benson.
Yeah.
And so I'll be honest with you, because I do see a year or two jump from Hunter Luepke in the scheme.
Yep.
And how they want to use him in short yardage package and just how much that Mike McCarthy trusts him, I feel fine. But I also wouldn't mind double dipping.
Yeah.
I think that I'm a big Isaiah Davis fan. And this is exactly, I'm actually working on a piece where I'm doing late round sleepers because Dallas needs to hit on undrafted late round sleepers. And he's one of my guys. Another guy that's on this available is Curtis Jacobs. So Jacobs he's not your typical Micah Parsons, Sean Lee, Penn State backer because he's light. But the problem with Jacobs, he does show some things on film that it's like, man, he runs around, was at the Senior Bowl. But I wouldn't say he's light, but he's 241. He came in at 241. And at the Shrine Bowl, he wasn't amazing, but he's a guy who can come down, run down on teams, and he does have some flashes on film. Those I'll bet on a Big Ten backer. I always bet on a Big Ten linebacker to come in.
Okay.
But now that we talk about, let's go down the board a little bit. There goes Tua's little brother. Oh, wow. I don't know, man. You might got to stop at Darius Masai. I didn't even know that he was available. Carter Bradley is also an interesting name if you wanted to go quarterback and just get depth. But I mean, Cooper Rush, they do have plans for Trey Lance, especially in the preseason.
Yeah,
I think that's now that I see Darius Masai, everything changed. So just forget everything I just said. If you guys are watching this video, Darius will be the pick. I love this film. When you're watching Latu, when you're watching even the other defensive end from UCLA, you can't help but watch Darius Masai just flash on film. Now the problem is he's a shorter backer. He went to the Shrine Bowl and he just made play after play. He's a thumper, plays downhill, little limited athletically. Mm-hmm. Actually, a lot limited athletically. So you got to keep him in that radius.
Yes.
Just playing downhill. But he's the guy who I want sitting behind Eric Kendricks because he could be your Ivan Pace type. Who's, if he's in the right scheme and he's only doing this, he could be a good player. Darius Masai is the last pick of our draft.
Oh, one more.
We got two. I'm sorry. I'll try to take your pick, Zach. I'm sorry, sir.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good. We're gonna talk through it. This is getting in the range now to where it's like we're deep in the draft. So if you've made it this far, you talk about the player because we're way down here.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's look at all our available. And this is probably around the spot of that draft where this is where we call the Dane Brugler special.
Yes.
and these are guys that we may not know about. Let's go to the running back room. Zach,
hold on 1 second. I do recognize this name, Cedric Johnson from Ole Miss, teammate of Sam Williams, also a very athletic guy. A 10.8% pass rush win rate. He does have the athletic tools. I can't remember what his RAS was. I believe it was pretty high. We talked about the edge room. Definitely wouldn't be a bad idea to add some bodies there because you did lose Dante Fowler. Sam Williams is going to get a lot of reps this year. DeMarcus Lawrence is starting to, he's getting up in age. So adding an athletic edge guy definitely wouldn't be a bad idea.
Now that you speak through it, edge is definitely, losing Dorrance Armstrong is a sneaky underrated loss. I don't think it's a loss to where you lose sleep at night, but it's one of those losses that says, okay, if you just talked about his teammate, if Sam Williams doesn't take that jump, do you get ahead of it? We also spoke about this pre-show. Could you flip everything on his back and go edge early if a guy falls and, kind of move some of your needs down the board?
Yeah.
That's kind of like, so what you kind of just sold me on a player. Let's look at the running back room, but I'm not mad. I actually need to add Cedric Johnson to my watch list.
Real quick, a 9.67 relative athletic score at 260 pounds. He ran a 4.63.
Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah.
Now this is
really good 10-yard split, 38-inch vertical, 10-foot broad jump. The dude is athletic.
Now, let me ask you this, Zach, before we make this pick. Do we know, or does Zach know, how does Zimmer want to deploy his edges? We know how Dan Quinn wants to deploy his edges.
Yeah.
Is Zimmer looking for a different type of edge?
So Quinn wanted guys just flying up the field. That was the whole thing. Get
the whole
north
D-line.
and south, fly up the field. I can't say that I watched a ton of Zimmer in Minnesota, but I do believe his philosophy was sort of bigger guys, bigger bodied, stop the run.
Danielle Hunter was a bigger body
guy.
And what he asked Danielle Hunter to do, he asked him to play the run, kind of like what he'll ask DeMarcus Lawrence to do.
Yes.
That's why it's so interesting to see. I'm really interested to see what he asked Michael Parsons to do.
Yeah.
But this guy, Cedric Johnson, what's his athletic? That RAS score is out off the charts. What's his build?
He is okay in the size grade.
Okay.
He's 6'3", 260. So a little light, a little short and a little light in the paint.
Okay, cool. Let's go to the running back room, but I think that might be the pick because I still, at the 7th round, you bet no Trace. Okay, cool.
So, quick question. Trey Benson's in the running back room. Before we look through these guys, Trey Benson's in the running back room. Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn, Hunter Lipke. That's 4 right now, right?
Yes.
And then you got some other guys mixed in there. If you do draft a running back, who's the odd man out? Or odd 2 out if the Cowboys decide to keep just 3? Because you mentioned Lipke maybe taking a step forward. So I'm curious to what you think of the running back room.
It would have to be Deuce Vaughn. And which is the tough conversation you have to have.
That's what I was wondering.
It's a tough one. Now I'm gonna tell you a name here too. Is Carson Steele. Let's go to his profile. I want to see how big Carson Steele is. I think I've watched like one game of his. He's good. He's good size.
Yeah, he's good size. 6'5".
I think Dallas last year, and I think that Mike McCarthy looked at it and said there were just times where we weren't physical enough. Like there were runs, there were just times where we just couldn't punch it in. And I think that's like in drafting Trey Benson, I think that people don't understand how big of a back Trey Benson is. He's 6'1". He's one of the taller backs in his. It's just he's so cut and built.
Yeah, he doesn't look that. He almost looks like a slightly bigger Kenneth Walker.
Yes, same frame. That's a great name. And so I think this is a position. What we haven't looked at the corners yet. Let's go to the corners real quick, Zach, and then we'll make our pick because I think I want to go with the edge player. But even still, you bring up a great point about running back because there's no. I mean, we like Deuce Vaughn, but again, there were just times where, hey, if Deuce Vaughn is going to be a 3rd round back only, and now you just drafted Trey Benson, he catches the ball well at the backfield, and Florida State didn't even deploy him the way that they could have.
Yeah.
I'm not liking what I'm seeing in the cornerback room. Let's go back to the edge.
A little light in the cornerback room.
Yeah, let's go back to the edge. Now, I like that pick, Zach. We're betting on traits, and then we'll hit all the rest of our needs in undrafted free agency.
Let's do it.
Yeah, man. I can't wait to see how this looks when you look at the whole body of work. I feel like we did some good stuff here. Oh, wow. A grade for Bronson. That's what I said. I think that would be an A grade. Oh, wow. A- for Bortolini. I love this draft, bro.
I like it a lot.
Yeah. What do you think we got the most value?
Honestly, as high as I am on Trey Benson,
Yeah.
it's between Brian Thomas Jr. because he changes your offense, adds a vertical threat, pretty big guy. Him and CeeDee Lamb, that combo, I mean, might be unstoppable. But Trey Benson is my top rated running back. I had an early second round grade on him, so I would say he, between pick 40 to 60 was about where I would guess he's going to go in the draft. I'm not sure if he falls to the third or not, but honestly, that's my favorite value pick in this draft.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you, Zach. I think that you talking us into Tanner Bortolini was the best value here. And I say that because we don't know how good Hoffman is. And I think that we're just penciling guys in because they're taking pictures with the Cowboys, but I don't want to just I don't want to live and die by that. I want to overcorrect some of the issues that we had last year. And I'm gonna say this. Being able to get Christian Haynes in the second round, the film that I saw is flawless. Was never on the ground, ever on the ground. Played with power, played square. You could plug him into an Alabama O-line or a Michigan O-line. Wouldn't miss a beat. So to me, what he did at the Senior Bowl, I thought was outstanding. So I think that those were actually our two best value picks. There's going to be a receiver that you love at 24 in this draft because the receivers, they're just that deep. And I believe that 6 quarterbacks are going to go in the top 12 picks. I just believe that. So that's going to push the tackle numbers.
Tackles.
Yep. That's going to push the tackle numbers back, which will push the receivers back, and you'll end up with a CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson situation. It happens every year.
With this draft, imagine this offensive line. If Bortolini has a really good training camp, he beats out Hoffman.
Yeah.
Christian Haynes is almost a top 50 pick. You plug him in at left guard. How much different does your offensive line look compared to what you went into training camp with? You have Bortolini at center. You have Haynes at left guard. You have Tyler Smith at left tackle. Feel pretty good.
A 23-year-old Tyler Smith who already was NFL ready as far as power.
Yeah,
he was NFL ready. Yeah. I think people forget, Zach. He trained all off season at guard and was thrown into the tackle room.
A
couple weeks before the first game.
Yep.
And made his way. I think that people are kind of overreacting to the tackle deal. If you want to look at a position that you may want to upgrade, it would be guard. If you want to, and we love TJ Bass, but if I got a Haynes staring at me, because he's not going to go in the first round, guards don't go in the first round.
Yeah. So
I feel really good about this draft, man. I feel like this will be one that nails it out the park for sure.
I like this a lot for sure. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I
think
a
video. I'm glad we got together and we're able to do a mock draft for everybody.
Yeah. You guys, if you guys want more of this, man, I think we could probably do a couple more.
Oh, yeah,
it's just a great exercise, especially a 7 round, because it really pushes you to really think, how are we going to piece the roster together with these pieces? Okay. Yep. Brian Thomas Jr. I love the what we said pre-show and what you said pre-show, Zach, about, hey, check this out, guys. Brandon Cooks isn't on your roster long term. Mm-hmm. That's a need. You don't want to wait until next year for it to be a super need. Let's get him out the way. Some of the other examples that you use with Tanner Bortolini, I really like it, man. Thank you so much, man. This was awesome, bro.
Yeah, dude, a lot of fun, and I'm glad we could do it. We're definitely gonna do more. Draft season is awesome. It's like one of the best times of the year.
Yeah. And you guys keep supporting DoubleMove, man. DoubleMove, thank you for having me on your spot.
I know
this is going from both sides.
For hitting me up.
Let's keep working, bro.
Yeah, dude, let's do it.
And for all you guys support us, thank y'all so much. Peace.
Thank y'all. Peace.